Hello. So I'm going to read some more pages from the story. Welcome. We're going to do it live so I can make sure that I get it to you all. Happy Saturday, and I hope all is well. Where we left off, um, Celie read the letters. She knows that Nettie is alive. Nettie kind of gave us a glimpse as to what's going on overseas and how Black people overseas live. And so, yeah, Celie is just kind of like trying not to kill Mister at this point. So let's continue. Dear God, us sleep like sisters, me and Suge. Much as I still want to be with her, much as I love to look, my titties stay soft, my little button never rise. Now I know I'm dead. But she say, no, just being mad, grief, wanting to kill somebody will make you feel this way. Nothing to worry about. Titty's gonna perk up, button gonna rise again. I loves to hug up, period, she say. Snuggle, don't need nothing else right now. Yeah, I say, hugging is good. Snuggle, all of it's good. She say, times like this, lulls, us ought to do something different. Like what? I asked. Well, she say, looking me up and down, let's make you some pants. What I need pants for? I say. I ain't no man. Don't get uppity, she say. But you don't have a dress do nothing for you. You're not made no, y'all know how the words. You're not made like no dress pattern neither. I don't know, I say. Mister not going to let his wife wear pants. Well, why not? Suge say. You do all the work round here. It's a scandalous the way you look out here plowing in a dress. How you keep from falling over or getting the plow caught in it is beyond me. Yeah, I say. Yeah, and another thing. I used to put on Albert's pants when we was courting. And he one time put on my dress. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. He he used to be a lot of fun. Not like now, but he loved to see me in pants. It was like a red flag to a bull. Ugh, I say. I could just picture it, and I didn't like it one bit. Well, you know how they is, say Suge. What us gonna make out of it, I say. We have to get our hands on somebody's army uniform, say Suge, for practice. That good, strong material and free. Jack, I say, Odessa's husband. Okay, she say. And every day we going to read Nettie's letters and sew. A needle and not a razor in my hand, I think. She don't say nothing else. Just come over to me and hug. Dear God, now I know Nettie alive, I begin to strut a little bit. Think, when she come home, us leave here. Her and me and our two children. What they look like, I wonder. But it's hard to think about them. I feel shame. More than love to tell the truth. Anyway, is they all right here? Got good sense and all? Should say children got by incest turned into dunces. Incest part of the devil's plan. But I think about Nettie. It's hot here, Celie, she write. Hotter than July. Hotter than August and July. Hot like cooking dinner on a big stove in a little kitchen in August and July hot. Dear Celie, we were met at the ship by an African from the village we are settling in. His Christian name is Joseph. He is short and fat, with hands that seem not to have any bones in them. When he shook my hand, it felt like something soft and damp was falling, and I almost caught it. He speaks a little English, what they call pidgin English. It is very different from the way we speak English, but somehow familiar. He helped us unload all our things from the ship onto the boats and then came out and got us. These boats are really dugout canoes, like the Indians had, the ones you see in the pictures, with all our belongings in them. We filled all three of them, and the fourth one carried all our medical and teaching supplies. Once in the boat, we were entertained by songs of our boatmen as they tried to out paddle each other to the shore. They paid very little attention to us and our cargo. When we reached the shore, they didn't bother to help us alight from the boat and actually set some of our supplies right down in the water. As soon as they had browbeat poor Samuel out of the tip that Joseph said was too big, they were off hallooing another group of people who were waiting at the edge of the water to be taken to the ship. The port is pretty, but too shallow for the large ships to rise. So there's a good business for the boatmen. During the season, the ships come by. These boatmen are all considerably larger and more muscular than Joseph, though all of them, including Joseph, are deep chocolate brown, not black like the Senegalese. And Sealy, they all have the strongest, cleanest white teeth. I was thinking about teeth a lot on the voyage over here because I had a toothache nearly the entire time. You know how rotten my back teeth are? And in England, I was struck by the English people's teeth. So crooked, usually, and blackish with decay. I wondered if it was the English water. But the Africans' teeth remind me of horses' teeth. They are all so fully formed, strong, and straight. The port's town. Sorry, y'all. My cat is tripping, y'all. Sorry. The port's town is the size of the hardware store in town. Inside, there are stalls filled with cloth, hurricane lamps and oil, mosquito netting, camp bedding, hammocks, axes and hoes, and machetes and other tools. The whole place is run. Go away. Go, go. The whole place is run by a white man, but some of the stalls that sell produce are rented out to Africans. Joseph showed us things we needed to buy: a large iron pot for boiling water, and our clothes and zinc basin. I just got to stop for a second, y'all. I'm just going to be really transparent. I understand the importance of Nettie's letters, but I really just want to get back to Sally's life. I know, y'all. I'm sorry. If you were enjoying Nettie's letters, like, congratulations. Awesome. But her letters are just like, oh my gosh. Can we just get back to what Celie is doing? Like, I know, y'all. I'm sorry. But we're gonna soldier through. This is a part of the book. This is interesting. And really when you read it, it's cool to see the language. So you know how I have like that country southern dialect, and then all of this is like perfect English. So yeah, okay. So we're back. We're back in Nettie's world. Since there was nowhere to sleep in the port, Joseph hired some porters from among the young men loafing around the trading post, and we left right away for Olinka. Some some 4 days march through the bush. Some 4 days march through the bush. Okay, jungle to you, or maybe not. Do you know what a jungle is? Well, trees and trees, and then more trees on top of that, and big. They are so big, they look like they were built. And vines and ferns and little animals, frogs, snakes too, according to Joseph. But thank God we did not see any of these. Only humpback lizards as big as your arm, which the people here catch and eat. They love meat, all the people in the village. Sometimes, if you can't get them to do anything any other way, you start to mention meat. Either a little extra piece, either a little piece extra you just happen to have, or maybe if you want them to do something big, you talk about a barbecue. Yes, a barbecue. They remind me of the folks at home. Well, we got here, and I thought I would never get the kinks out of my hips from being carried in a hammock the whole way. Everybody in the village crowded us. Coming out of the little round huts was something I thought was straw on top of them, but is really kind of a leaf that grows everywhere. They pick it and dry it and lay it so it overlaps to make the rain roof. I'm sorry. They overlap it to make the roof rainproof. Jeez. This part is women's work. Men folks drive the stakes for the hut and sometimes build the walls with mud and rock from the streams. You never saw such curious faces at the village as the village folks surrounded us with. At first they just looked. Then one or two of the women touched my and Corinne's dress. My dress was so dirty round the hem from dragging on the ground for 3 nights of cooking round a campfire that I was so ashamed of myself. But then I took a look at the dresses they were wearing. Most looked like they had been dragged across the yard by pigs, and they don't fit. So then they moved up a little bit, nobody saying a word yet, and touched our hair. Then looked down at our shoes. We looked at Joseph. Then he told us that they were acting this way because the missionaries before us were white people, and vice versa. The men had been to the port, some of them, and had seen the white merchant, so they knew white men could be something else too. But the women had never been to the port, and the only white person they'd seen was the missionary that they had buried over a year ago. Samuel asked if they'd ever seen the white woman missionary 20 miles further on, and he said no. 20 miles through the jungle is a very long trip. The men might hunt up to 10 miles around the village, but the women stayed close to their huts and fields. Then one of the women asked a question. We looked at Joseph. He said the woman wanted to know if the children belonged to me or to Corrine or to both of us. Joseph said they belonged to Corrine. The woman looked us both over and said something else. We looked at Joseph. He said the woman said they both looked like me. We all laughed politely. And we know why they look like her. Because they her niece and nephew. Yeah, they look like her. Shoot. Then another woman had a question. She wanted to know if I was also Samuel's wife. Joseph said no, and that I was a missionary just like Samuel and Corrine. Then someone said they never suspected missionaries could have children. Then another said he never dreamed missionaries could be black. Then someone said that the new missionaries would be black, and two of them women was exactly what they had dreamed of, and just last night. By now, there was a lot of commotion. Little heads began to pop up from behind mother's skirts and over big sister's shoulders, and we were sort of swept along among the villagers, about 300 of them, into a place without walls, but with a leaf roof, where we all sat down on the ground, men in front, women and children behind. Then there was loud whispering among some very old men who looked like the church elders from back home, with their baggy trousers and shiny, ill-fitting coats. Did black missionaries drink palm wine? Corinne looked at Samuel, and Samuel looked at Corinne, but me and the children were already drinking it because someone had already put the little brown clay glasses in our hands, and we were too nervous not to start sipping. We got there around 4 o'clock and sat under the leaf canopy until 9. We had our first meal there, a chicken and groundnut stew, which we ate with our fingers. But mostly we listened to songs and watched dances that raised a lot of dust. The biggest part of the welcoming ceremony was about the roof leaf, which Joseph interpreted for us as one of the villagers recited the story that it was based upon. The people of this village think that they have always lived in this exact spot where their village now stands, and this spot has been good to them. They plant cassava fields that yield huge crops. They plant groundnuts that do the same. They plant yam and cotton and mutton and millet, all kinds of things. But once, a long time ago, one man in the village wanted more than his share of land to plant. He wanted to make more crops so as to use his surplus for a trade with the white man on the coast. Because he was chief at the time, he gradually took more and more of the common land and took more and more wives to work it. As his greed increased, he also began to cultivate the land on which the roof leaf grew. Even his wives were upset by this and tried to complain, but they were lazy women and no one paid attention to any of them. Nobody could remember a time when roof leaf did not exist in overabundant amounts. But eventually, the greedy chief took so much of this land that even the elders were disturbed. So he simply bought them off with axes and cloth and cooking pots that he got from the coast traders. But then there came a great storm during the rainy season that destroyed all the roofs on all the huts in the village, and the people discovered to their dismay that there was no longer any roof leaf to be found. Where roof leaf had flourished from time's beginning, there was now cassava, millet, and groundnuts. For 6 months, the heavens and the winds abused the people of Olinka. Rain came down in spears, stabbing away the mud of their walls. The wind was so fierce it blew the rocks out of the walls and into the people's cooking pots. Then cold rocks, shaped like millet balls, fell from the sky, striking everyone, men and women and children alike, and giving them fevers. The children fell ill at first, and then their parents. Soon the village began to die. By the end of the rainy season, half the village was gone. The people prayed to their gods and waited patiently for the seasons to change. As soon as the rain stopped, they rushed the old roof leaf beds and turned to find the old roots. But of the endless numbers that had always grown there, only a few dozen remained. It was 5 years before roof leaf became plentiful again. During those 5 years, many more of the village died. Many left, never to return. Many were eaten by animals. Many were sick. The chief was given all his store bought utensils and forced to walk away from the village forever. His wives were given to other men. On the day when all the huts had the roofs again from the roof leaf, the villagers celebrated by singing and dancing and telling the story of the roof leaf. The roof leaf became the thing that they worshiped. Looking over the heads of the children at the end of this tale, I saw slowly coming towards us a large, brown, spiky thing as big as a room, with a dozen legs, walking slowly, carefully under it. When it reached our canopy, it was presented to us. It was our roof. As it approached, the people bowed down. The white missionary before you would not let us have this ceremony, said Joseph, but the Olinka like it very much. We know a roof leaf is not Jesus Christ, but in its own humble way, is it not God? So there we sat, Seely, face to face with the Olinka God. And Seely, I was so tired and sleepy and full of chicken and groundnuts too, my ears ringing with song, that all Joseph said made perfect sense to me. I wonder what you will make of this. I send my love, your sister, Nettie. Ugh, y'all. All right. Man, so many more Nettie letters. You know what? I appreciate how detailed it is because it's showing me how much she wants to let Celie know about her life. You know what I mean? It's almost like a diary, but for your sister. And I know she wants to. It's the 1920s. They want to. They want to show. You know, she wants to show. Is it the 1920s? Is it like 1930s, 20s, something like that? They just. She just wants to tell her everything. She wants to tell her everything, and I can't be like this about this particular part of the story. But I'm just like, all right, dear Celie. It's been a long time since I had to write, but always, no matter what I'm doing, I am writing to you. Dear Celie, I say in my head in the middle of the Vespers, the middle of the night, while cooking dinner, dear Celie. And I imagine that you really do get my letters and that you are writing me back. Dear Nettie, this is what life is like for me. We are up at 5 o'clock for a light breakfast of millet porridge and fruit and the morning classes. We teach the children English, reading, writing, history, geography, arithmetic, and stories of the Bible. At 11 o'clock, we break for lunch and household duties. From 1 until 4, it is too hot to move. Though some of the mothers sit behind their huts and sew, at 4 o'clock, we teach the older children, and at night, we are available for the adults. Some of the older children are used to coming to the mission school. but the smaller ones are not. Their mothers sometimes drag them here, screaming and kicking. They are all boys. Olivia is the only girl. The Olinka do not believe girls should be educated. When I asked my mother, when I asked a mother why she thought this is, she said, "A girl is nothing to herself. Only to her husband can she become something." Well, now we know where Celie gets this from. Sorry. What can she become? I asked. Why? She said, the mother of his children. Said the mother of his children. Yeah, I was right. But I am not the mother of anybody's children, I said, and I am something. You are not much, she said. The missionary's drudge. It is true that I work harder here than I ever dreamed I could work, and that I sweep out the school and tidy up after service, but I don't feel like a drudge. I was surprised that this woman, whose Christian name is Catherine, saw me in this light. She was she has a little girl named Tashi who plays with Olivia after school. Adam is the only boy who will speak to Olivia at school. They are not mean to her. It is just, what is it? Because she is where they are going, because she is where they are doing boy things, they do not see her. But never fear, Celie. Olivia has your stubbornness and clear sightedness, and she is smarter than all of them, including Adam put together. Why can't Tashi come to school? She asked me. When I told her the Olinka don't believe in educating girls, she said quick as a flash, "They're like white people at home who don't want the colored people to learn." Oh, she's very sharp, Celie. At the end of the day, when Tashi can get away from all her chores her mother assigns her, she and Olivia secretly she and Olivia secret themselves in my hut, and everything Olivia has learned she shares with Tashi. To Olivia right now, Tashi alone is Africa. The Africa she came beaming across the ocean, hoping to find. Everything else is difficult for her. The insects, for instance. For some, all of her bites turn into deep, runny sores, and she has a lot of trouble sleeping at night because of the noises of the forest frighten her. It is taking a long time for her to become used to the food, which is nourishing but for the most part indifferently prepared. The women of the village take turns cooking for us, and some are clearer and more conscious. I don't know this word. This is awful. I'm going to say it's more conspicuous than others. Olivia gets sick from the food prepared by any of the chef's wives. Samuel thinks it may be the water they use, which comes from a separate spring that runs clear even in the dry season, but the rest of us have no ill effects. It is as if Olivia fears the food from these wives because they all look unhappy and work so hard. Whenever they see her, they talk about the day when she will become their littlest sister slash wife. It is a joke, and they like her, but I wish they wouldn't say it. Even though they are unhappy and work like donkeys, they still think it is an honor to be a chief's wife. He walks around all day, holding his belly up and talking and drinking palm wine with the healer. Why do I say I will be a wife or a chief? Asked Olivia. That is as high as they can think, I tell her. He is fat and shiny with huge perfect teeth. She thinks she has nightmares about him. You will grow up to be a strong Christian woman, I tell her. Someone who helps her people to advance. You will be a teacher or a nurse and you will travel. You will know many people greater than the chief. Will Tashi? She wants to know. Yes, I tell her, Tashi too. Corinne said to me this morning, Nettie, to stop any kind of confusion in the minds of these people, I think we should call one another brother and sister all the time. Some of them can't seem to get it through their thick skulls that you are not Samuel's other wife. I don't like it, she said. Almost since the day we arrived, I noticed a change in Corinne. She isn't sick. She works as hard as ever. She is still sweet and good natured, but sometimes I sense her spirit is being tested, that something in her is not at rest. That's fine, I said. I'm glad you brought it up. And don't let the children call you Mama Nettie, she said, even in play. This bothered me a little, but I didn't say anything. The children do call me Mama Nettie sometimes because I do a good bit of fussing over them, but I never try to take Corinne's place. And another thing she said, I think we ought to try not to borrow each other's clothes. Well, she never borrowed anything of mine because I don't have much, but I'm all the time borrowing something of hers. You feeling yourself? I asked her. She said yes. I wish you could see my hut, Celie. I love it. Unlike our school, which is square, and unlike our church, which doesn't have walls, at least during the dry season, my hut is round walled with a round leaf roof. It is 20 steps away, is 20 steps across the middle, and fits me to a T. Over the mud walls, I have hung Olinka platters and mats and pieces of tribal cloth. The Olinka are known for their beautiful cotton fabric, which they hand weave and dye with berries, clay, indigo, and tree bark. Then there is a paraffin camp stove in the center, and my camp bed to one side, covered with mosquito netting so that it almost looks like the bed of a bride, I'm sorry. Then I have a small writing table where I write to you, a lamp and a stool, some wonderful rush mats on the floor. It is all colorful and warm and homey. My only desire is now to have a window. None of the village huts have windows, and when I spoke of a window to a woman, they laughed heartily. The rainy season makes the thought of a window ridiculous, apparently. But I am determined to have one, even if a flood collects daily on my floor. I would give anything for a picture of you, Celie. In my trunk, I have pictures donated to us by the missionary societies in England and America. Pictures of Christ, the apostles, Mary, the crucifixion, speaking, Specky, I don't know, Livingston, Stanley, Schweitzer. Maybe one day I'll put them up. But once, when I held them up to the fabric and mat covered the walls, they made me feel very small and unhappy. So I took them down, even the picture of Christ, which generally looks good anywhere you put it. We, of course, have all these pictures hung in the school and many of Christ behind the altar at church. That is enough, I think. Though Samuel and Corinne have pictures and relics, crosses, in their hunt as well. Your sister, Nettie. We are finished reading for the day. Yeah, as I already mentioned, this little section is kind of snooze for me. It's a little snooze for me, but it is interesting to get a glimpse of Celie's life I'm not Celie, I'm sorry, Nettie's life in Africa. So we'll pick up tomorrow on page 160 where there is yet another letter from Nettie. Okay. Thank you all for joining. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.